this election in 2012 is probably, we say that every time at elections, but you know as well as I do, is a defining election for this country. Very much so. And the contrast and the choices couldn't be more stark, and they couldn't be more obvious to people. And so I really believe that the majority of the American people are decent, want a country that's fair, and don't want to destroy what has been holding this nation together for decades overnight on the mantra of we have to cut, on the mantra that there's too much government, on the mantra that it's time that we return government to the values that it should have, which unfortunately have become more and more religious as opposed to being democratic. And so as we move into this defining period, we feel it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to set some things straight in this nation. Last election was horrific. And I can tell you from the House of Representatives, when the Tea Party candidates came in, not only did progress stop, but the IQ dropped about 80 points. But the scary part about that, is that now we know what that agenda is. And American people are smart, they understand, and now that we know what that agenda is, I think there's a great deal of Americans out there that have a deep sense of buyer's remorse, that they bought something and that's not what they got. They got ideologues, theocratic philosophy on government, and, as the president called it, social Darwinism, survival of the fittest, and the hell with everybody else. And I don't think that's our government. I don't think that that's what the American people want. So we're going to run a very hard race. We are going to have a primary. So far we're up to 4 opponents. And as far as I can tell, none of them live in the district. As far as I can tell, none of them can sign their own petitions. And as far as I can tell, there's been a conversion from, and I accept it, that's good. There's been a conversion from 2 were Republicans and now they're Democrats. One is a state senator who's getting, former state senator who's getting support and handling by the Republican National Committee, and getting, and her positions are very consistent with that kind of minimal government and reaching across the aisle, and I can work with anybody. And that's what you're going to hear over and over again, that we need a candidate that can work with anybody. Well, you know, what we offer is a candidate and a congressman that works hard, and I believe we do, but also we draw the line. There are some things that we feel need to be protected for the American people. There are some things we need to defend for the American people, and there are some things that we have to continue to promote for the American people. We need to continue to promote investing in our people. This is no time to slash education. This is no time to mess with Social Security. We have to be fair. We have to be fair. The great thing about this country is it's about shared responsibility and shared sacrifice. So we need a taxing system and taxation that makes everybody carry their part of the load. And then we need to protect things. We need to protect the sanctity and the beauty of our natural resources. There is a balance to be struck there between what the resources can give us to make us stronger and safer and more independent, and those areas that are too special, too good to be tampered with. They should be preserved. And so the choices will be pretty clear. And if they're not, we're going to make sure they're clear. And we are going to ask of our opponents in the primary a very direct question. You know where I stand on Medicare. You know where I stand on Afghanistan. You know where I stand on the budget. You know where I stand on health reform.
Hello?
It's public. I've made no secret of those positions. We're going to ask our opponents now, where do you stand? Where do you stand on those critical issues facing the American people and facing District 3? Where do you stand? And once we get them to answer that question, then what I said earlier about a stark contrast, a legitimate choice in this election, it'll be pretty obvious to you. We're going to work really hard. Key to us is turnout. Key to us, we have 35% of our district is not, we never represented it before, and we need to work very hard in those areas. And so your support is very, very necessary. I realize there's a heavily contested race in Gabby's district that will capture most of the attention and a lot of the resources. I beg your indulgence on this point, that for this state of ours to begin to change its political culture, we could use your help, your time, your resources to make sure that we empower the voters in this district to be part of changing the culture in the state. And if we turn out and do the job we need to do, that culture change will begin to happen. They asked me on the TV the other day, and I want to mention the issue of immigration in 1070. And this is what, besides all the other stuff that has already been said, and I'll end with this, because I think this speaks to what we are and who we are as Americans. I said, you know, 1070, it was not, 1070 said something to a group of people. It said, you're separate from. You're not part of us. That's what 1070 did. And his story, from the beginning of this nation, built on the backs of immigrants. This country is about taking that immigrant group, integrating them in, and making them part of the whole. And 1070 is not about integrating or making part of the whole. And that's what's so offensive, that's what's so anti-American about those attitudes, and that is why we have been so strong in our opposition to this law, because it fundamentally destroys a basic value of this nation, which is that from many come one.
Not for everyone.